Pico foot includes buttonhole centered itself and
Hey everyone, this is Sarah with SewingPartsOnline.com, and today we're going to go over how to make a blind hem on your serger. So the most important part to getting a good blind hem is a good press. So we're going to spray our fabric with some water, press it down. If all the wrinkles are out, I'm good to start measuring my hem. So let's say I'm measuring some curtains or something and I'm using a 1-inch hem. So I'm going to flip my fabric over, pin down where the 1-inch is, and then I'm going to get my spray bottle and spray again. Once again, this is for just regular 100% cotton. Now here's the tricky part. You're looking at the wrong side of the fabric. Like I can see the wrong side of my fabric, you can see the right side. You see the hem right here? Now I'm going to take this and flip it. Flip it up so that the raw edge is kind of poking out a little bit. Try to make it as even as you can. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but you really want to go for an even look. Then I'll spray again and press. There we go. Now we're ready to serge it. So to do this blind hem, I'm using my left needle. I've taken out my right needle. My left needle tension is at a 0 or 1, depending on your machine. My upper looper is at about an 8, and my lower looper is at about a 7. Now, it just depends what machine you have. If these settings work for you, depending on your fabric, just mess around with it a little bit. Always do a test one first. So what I want to do is guide this fold into my machine so that the needle barely nicks it, just barely nicks it. So I'm going to start going in slowly, and what helps me to gauge where this fold is I keep my finger right here by the fold, the fold that's covered up, and I guide it like that. And for some reason that just helps me. I'm not entirely sure why, but it works. So here we go. So I'm getting in there. I see that my fold is just barely being nicked. And then I'm going to go slowly so that I maintain control at all times. So move this needle up and down. You can see that it's just barely nicking the fold. I want it as invisible as I can. So I'll start up again and just try to maintain as much control as you can. Now, if this really isn't working for you, if you're having a lot of trouble keeping it steady, we do sell a blind hem foot for your serger. With a guide similar to the one you would use on your sewing machine. It's pretty much the exact same thing. They even have snap-on ones, so it's like super easy to use. So now you can see right here that the seam or that the hem looks invisible. Once this is pressed, it'll be nearly impossible to see, and you want to make sure you use the same color as your fabric in your needle, and that's how you get the thread to really blend in. Blind hems are really great on knits, so I'm going to show you how to get a good press for your knit. Just go ahead, just like we did with the woven, and put it on your press or ironing board, whichever you're using. And I really recommend using some Best Press. We sell it on the website, it comes in a bunch of different scents, but it works so well with giving a little bit more stability to knits, so they're easier. It's just easier to work with. That really kind of makes the difference for me. So I pressed it out. I'm going to go ahead and flip over my hem, like maybe we're making a cute maxi skirt or something like that. Use some more Best Press because I want a nice crisp edge. It's easier for me to feed into my serger if it's crisp. And then just like with the woven fabric, I'm going to flip it till that little raw edge pokes out a little bit. Use a little bit more Best Press. And there we go. It is ready to be serged. Now the same technique applies when you're hemming some jersey or knit fabric, but you need to switch out the needle. So I've got a ballpoint needle in right now. You may use a jersey needle or a stretch needle depending on what fabric you're using. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of gauge where that fold lines up with that left needle. We're going to aim to just barely nick. Just barely nick it. Also, your stitch length needs to be at about a 4, and your differential feed is still 1, and you can adjust your width however you like. You can see we're just barely nicking the fabric. What really helps me, once again, is using this fold, the fold that you can't see, to guide me. I find that following this fold is a little bit helpful, but that following the outside one really works for me, focusing on that, less moving parts. So you can see how that barely nicks the fabric and it still maintains the stretch. It's not very noticeable, especially if you have a thread that really matches the fabric. It'll be completely invisible. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave us a comment in the comment section below. For any Serger supplies or notions, visit us online at sewingpartsonline.com, on Google+, or on Facebook at facebook.com/sewingpartsonline.